You are now listening to the Walk by Faith podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Stiff, aka The Pretty Plug. I'm on a mission to tell the lost story that combines faith in God and success here on this earth. The world often separates faith and entrepreneurship as if it was mutually exclusive. But I assure you it's not. I interview the following types of people: entrepreneurs, business women, and businessmen climbing the corporate ladder, founders of nonprofit organizations, college students following their passions, and also artists on the rise. They are movers and shakers in this generation, and I intend to plug you in week after week with content that inspires and educates you to be all that you are called to be. Thank you for tuning in, and now for this week's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. We're back for another episode that teaches you about a new industry and how to excel in starting a venture that you may not know about. As always, I'm so thankful for each of you that review and rate this show. So please take a moment, review it, rate it if you're using the Apple Podcast app, and stay tuned to hear our review for the week a little bit later. So I need to give you a little bit of context before we jump into this episode. So I moved to New York City about a year or so ago, and I noticed that rent is expensive, but because I'm an engineer, I'm not really, concerned about the cost. I wanted to know, how can I one day rent to someone and get the money that I am giving someone every single day? So whenever it's time for me to actually go and invest in real estate or go and invest in properties, I'm going to need to find key experts in the industry so that I don't make simple mistakes just by Googling on the internet. So I want to talk about just the goals that I've set for myself, which is one, getting out of student loan debt within 2 years. I'm on year 2. And then I want to just starting a business and generating income. That's a second stream of income. I work. I have a second stream of income, which is this podcast that you all support. And then 3, which is investing in properties in Texas or New York City. My mom swears that I need to buy a home in Texas. So I was just like, you know what? Whenever I do make those plans, I need to make sure I know someone. And I don't want to rent forever. That's something that has never been on my heart, to just rent forever. But in this stage of the game, I'm still building where I am. So on today, we have a special guest. He's from the Caribbean. He's from Trinidad and Tobago specifically, and he now resides in Houston, Texas. He is a Prairie View alumnus. He started Clutch City Homebuyers, a flip and wholesale business. He co-founded Level Up Development, a company that builds homes, and acquired his first fourplex the first year he got started. He has been able to teach many other people his methodologies to increase their success in the real estate game. So you guys, I'm so pleased to introduce Issa Joseph. Issa, how are you doing today?
Hey, Jasmine. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me on your show.
No problem. We was at homecoming, and while we was both setting it out, you was like, you know what, Jasmine, I gotta get on this show. I was like, okay, bet, Issa. I will send you an email. I'll make sure that you can get on the show, and we begin the process. So what I like to do with each guest is just a warm up, an icebreaker. Issa, can you tell us 3 things that you would like to acknowledge, change, or share about the real estate industry?
Well, I don't think anything really needs to change other than more people getting the information. So the 3 things that I want to acknowledge is that you need to know your numbers. Pretty much 2, it's more along the lines of you have to actually put in that work. You have to put in the work eventually. So at some point you're going to have to jump and just immerse yourself in it. And 3 is the information. So pretty much you have that information, putting in that work, and understanding your numbers. That's the 3 most important parts Without any of them, you're setting yourself up for failure. And in real estate, is so much information out there. It's so much you could do with that information to make yourself successful in real estate. It's really up to you. There's hundreds of real estate courses and that kind of stuff, and eventually you're gonna have to jump. A lot of us, we get in what do you call it, analysis paralysis. So
Yeah.
so you have to jump at some point in time and get into it. And third, as I said, you have to know your numbers. You have to know your numbers. You can't be like, oh yeah, this is a wonderful deal, I'm gonna get into it, and you get into it, you didn't do your numbers, and then you're hurting financially, because that's where you're gonna hurt.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith. We can't read about it, talk about it, discuss about it, strategize about it, and we never do it. I think that's what keeps us as people just down, because other people, they'll jump, they'll take the risk, they may fail, but they at least tried. So just going to my next point, Issa, I did read your brief bio earlier, but how did Prairie View A&M University play a integral part in your 9 to 5 today?
How did Prairie View play a part in my 9 to 5? Well, to be honest with you, it was because of and I guess this is a more of a degree question, like a school type question. So like, okay. Oh man. Okay. So when I went to Prairie View, I did research, for the company that I work at now, which is a nuclear operating company. And Prairie View just taught me good work ethic, that kind of stuff, and to want more. But one of the things that I really gained from Prairie View was one of my teachers. His name was Daniel Rich. He was a geotechnical professor that I had, and when I was out there, he was saying, Issa, anything. Him and another professor, they both said the same thing, so it resonated with me, and it was, anything that touches the land makes money. Anything that touches the land that makes money. Then later on, a mentor gave me a quote, and he said, there's only one type of land of its type in this world, and once someone acquires it, that's gone. So I really began to resonate with the whole, geotechnical engineering. As I said, people call it dirt engineering, but and that's disrespectful. That's mad disrespectful. But it really zones in on the point. Anything that really touches the land makes money. Parking lots, shopping centers, homes, anything that exists on the ground, it has a potential to make money. So that really resonated with me. I got my job at STP through my research, and then subsequent internships at the plant. But that's what pretty much resonated with me at Prairie.
Okay. And you study what?
I studied civil engineering. Oh, okay. Oh, you want?
I need you to get into it. We gotta tell the people who you are.
Right.
So tell us who you are.
Okay, so came to Prairie View A&M University in 2010. Studied civil engineering the entire time. 3 out of the 5 years that I was there, I was rated the most outstanding civil engineer, engineering student in my in my class. So it was like freshman, sophomore, junior. So it's like those three. But engineering, it typically takes. It typically takes engineers like 4 to 5 years to. It took me 5 years, so I'm not the brightest. I don't think I was the brightest in the bunch, but I just work hard.
Yeah.
So so I was most outstanding civil engineer, and then I was vice president of ASCE, which is the American Society of Civil Engineers. I was also the vice president of Panthers United, which is a community service organization on campus. I was in SGA at a point in time. I was I can't remember. I think it was like something in communications I did in SGA. This was when I was a freshman. I was also the president of the PVAMU Forensic Society, which is speech and debate. And right now, the speech and debate team at Prairie View, we're actually leading the march on the whole go to the polls type situation and that lawsuit that they have at Prairie View right now with voting. So I think the legacy that has been left behind is pretty good. People are keeping stuff going. Working hard and stuff. And I mean, that's pretty much what I did at
Yes.
Prairie View. I think I left out of everything, but I think I captured the majority of the stuff. I kept busy.
I agree. And I think that's what helps. If you were busy in college, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be busy when you actually develop your 9 to 5. And Issa also left out that he's fam. He pledged Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But
Yeah,
so he did a lot in school. So
it's a lot.
yes, and that means y'all should listen to him because he's always just pushed himself to the mark and to the brink. So a lot of times, like Issa, you're working 10-hour days, right? And then when it comes to the weekend, that's when your side hustle that you one day want to create into your main hustle starts. So I just want to talk about like you having a partner and what that means and helping you balance your 10-hour work days and also having your side hustle that is actually taking off right now.
Okay. Well, with regards to one of my side hustles is wholesaling. So with my wholesaling, I do have a partner, and it can't be only limited to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because wholesaling is a thing where you have to reach out, talk to people, build that kind of relationship, close the deal. So like during the day, like from like because I get to work at like 6 a.m. and I'm there till like 5 and I get home at 7. So really within that time space, it's really difficult to make stable calls and talk to people and that kind of stuff. Although I do make some calls, I'm relying on my partner at that time to go because he's a realtor to go out, meet some of these clients and that kind of stuff who may need who may come under some tough times or whatever, and they're trying to get rid of this property so they could get rid of the debt. He'll go out, talk to them, and see if he could close the deal. I would come out there in the afternoons, in the evenings, sometimes late after work, try to see it'd be at night most of the time, see the property or on the weekends, and then we try to close the deal from there. That's pretty much the importance of having a partner for me. Now, what I would say is if you have the time, if you get home at like 4 o'clock, whatever, if you have time and it's still daylight outside, you really don't need a partner. This is a business for wholesaling. For the wholesaling portion, it's a business that you could pretty much do on your own. But if you have a time constraint, you don't really have time to make the calls during the week, you don't really have the time to go out, see the properties because you get home super late and that kind of stuff, you may want to consider having a partner, but it's not really a business that requires you to have one. Okay? So yeah, that's pretty much it. My partner really helps with a lot of the boots on the ground type work, and really and truly, I want to be able to get to the point where I could be more boots on the ground, because that's where you actually really interface with the people, and you really build that connection so you could close that deal.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you mentioned wholesaling. So to my listeners, don't worry. We're going to touch all of these pieces that he's going to share just a moment. I just want to continue with the backstory. One, what did one of your past mentors teach you in the last 2 years that really pushed you to jumpstart to success?
Oh, okay. So one of my in the past it wasn't even 2 years. I think it was back in 2013.
Okay.
Right? I think it was back in 2013. I had just crossed Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the greatest fraternity under the sun. And one of it was actually the girl who I was talking to at the time, her brother, he was doing real estate. It was rental properties. It wasn't even wholesaling. He was doing rental properties, and I think he had gotten up to a good bit of rental properties at this time. And I was like, you know what, man? Hey, can you teach me the game on this? And it really was that simple. It's really as simple as, listen, I identified someone who was already doing something that I wanted to do. And I just told him, like, hey, man, he's actually an Omega from Prairie View, so he wrote Theta. So I actually went to Alpha talking to, we had a Alpha Omega conversation on real estate. And he pretty much gave me the game. He gave me all the goods. I took that, and I have a small circle of friends. You know, me and my two best friends, Jeremy Kraft and Cleveland Ballard. Cleveland does real estate in California, and Jeremy he just built his own home here in the Acres Homes area. I gave them the game. Cleve and I, we took off with it. Cleve is right now, he's closing on his second duplex, and we've only been doing this for a year. So the game that he gave us, and this guy, he's up in the double digits with properties already, and he's only been doing it for about 4 years. So like with that game he gave us, we took it. We also went a little bit further. You know, we conducted our own research. I got some books. I took some courses, and we built up a plan that would work for us. And he's doing it in California. I'm doing it here. And that's just for rental properties. But I was like, man, I'm really interested in how I could make more money outside of my job in terms of like more faster active income, because rental property is more of a passive income. So I was like, let me look at wholesaling. And I took more courses and stuff in that, and also helped me to understand how to calculate my numbers to find better rental properties and such. So
okay, so Issa, just go ahead and like break down wholesaling and what that is.
Okay, so let's say for instance someone has a piece of a property. Okay, let's say you have a house, and the house that you have it was inherited to you. You have not been taking care of it. Let's say you got late on your property taxes. So the city of Houston, in actually HCAD and that type of stuff, they actually have lists where they show you people who are delinquent on their properties. So these individuals, they're delinquent. Their credit is hurt. Their credit is getting hurt. They're probably hurting financially. The property is a burden. So now you're coming to them and you're presenting a solution. You're like, okay, listen, your property is probably worth $150,000, okay? But right now, in its current state, that it's probably not in too much good shape, and you owe taxes on it, it's probably worth about $50,000. So I'll give you $50,000 for this property. Now it's worth $150,000, but you're not going to get that. You're not going to, and you don't have enough money to fix it. Remember, you're hurting financially, and it's currently hurting your financial status in terms of credit and all that kind of stuff. So you're like, okay, I'll make that deal with you. We then take that deal, we find an investor or a buyer, and we wholesale that deal to them. So I got the property from someone for like $50,000. Now I'll turn to this guy and be like, hey, I know you're a builder. I know you're looking for a quick flip. This house is worth $150,000, okay? But I'll say, it's worth $150,000 when repaired. I'll sell it to you for $60,000. So I'm buying it for $150,000 and I'm selling it to this guy for $60,000. So in turn, I just made $10,000 off of just connecting two people, someone who had a need to sell their property and someone who had a need to buy their property, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, pretty much that's all it is. And I don't have to use any of my money to do it. When I say buy, the guy is going to come with his own money. He's going to come with his $60,000. And we're going to do, so you could do like a single contract, or you could do what you call a double close, where you have a contract with the owner and then a contract with the buyer. And then you go through your title company and you do something called a double close. And in that turn, the guy who's buying the property, the guy who's actually funding the money, his check will go to the title company. The title company will send $50,000 to the person who was selling. I get $10,000 as my wholesale fee, because as I said, this is not the same thing. I don't have a realtor's license. People need to remember that. Like when you're doing this, you don't typically you don't have to have a realtor's license to do it. And to make sure, according to TREC, which is the Texas Real Estate Commission contract, you cannot state that you're a realtor when doing this type of closes. You're a wholesaler. So you receive a wholesale fee, $10K or whatever it is you calculate. And, you pretty much you go from there. So it's pretty much, you're not even using your own money. The only money you may have to use, because I know people are going to come back and say, oh, he said we didn't require no money, is to get the property in contract. So and that could be as little as $10.
Mm.
And like earnest money. You can say, okay, I'll put down $10 earnest money. It's as little as, so if you got $10, you could do this.
Wow. That's what they not telling you. That's what they not telling you at the dinner table, man. So Issa, talk to us about like your level of development company and how you acquired your first fourplex.
Okay, so the level up development is it's a construction type based company, and we haven't started our official project yet. As I said, these companies, and this is one thing I recommend to people. Before you do what I did, because this is probably not the best thing, I started all these companies in a year. So because I just got overly excited, and it's only so much I can do with my schedule. So some get more attention than others right now, and that's not necessarily the best thing you want to do. But I am learning a lot, which I am thankful for. So so back to it. So level up development, we bought a piece of land in my partner and I in Fifth Ward, and we're planning on building 2 townhomes there right now. And we're in the process of like figuring out that situation. We've met a few speed bumps on the way, but we're set to be back on track. So pretty much with level up development, we buy land, we build homes in that area that we think are like selling. So like in Fifth Ward and Third Ward area, if you guys aren't familiar with Houston, the Third Ward is pretty much booming right now, but it's booming so aggressively that it's maybe a little difficult for you as an upcoming investor to get in there. But there are surrounding areas like Fifth Ward and that type of stuff that it's beginning to branch out to. You're starting to see a little bit more gentrification. I know we don't like that. I know people say, oh, gentrification is bad. It really ain't that bad. It's someone investing in the community. And if you know the strategies, and you know how to put some money together, you can invest too. It's not, it's not, oh, it's a bad thing. It's not really, it's actually a good thing because people are actually rebuilding some of these communities and there's a lot of money to be made.
Agreed. And all we have to do is get in the market too, so we can gentrify our own place. So I don't know why people get mad that other people want to get money. If you so mad, just you go get money too. And if in that case you need to be owning the land in which you already live, because can't nobody gentrify something that you own. So that's the story for another day. But what is the bare minimum that someone needs to get started in real estate?
Well, from what I just told you, basically wholesaling, you really only need about $10. Wholesaling is about how good you can finesse. So, and that's what I think it is. Okay, I go down to the to where they have the auctions, in City Hall, whatever. I identify people who are like buying homes and stuff, and I say, hey, what's going on? My name is whatever. I represent Clutch City Homebuyers. Hey, we are, we are trying to find investors who want to, you kind of want to give yourself like a concierge type feel. So you identify investors who are looking for specific things. Okay, so like, hey, they're looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Okay, you tell people, hey, whatever you're looking for, we'll try to find houses exactly tailored to you. That's how you begin to build your buyers list. And pretty much in terms of like finding people who are willing to sell their homes, you just go through the county tax records, and that's for free. None of this stuff that I'm telling you is going to cost you any money. It's just going to cost you time. The question is, do you have the time to do wholesaling? Because it's going to require some effort. It's going to take some time. It's a little bit tough. But it's not even about if you have money, it's whether you have the time. So wholesaling doesn't cost you anything to get started, in my opinion. If you don't got $10, man, you probably just try to figure out your financial situation. If you really ain't even got $10, but for the most part, wholesaling ain't that hard to do. Now, when you get into rental properties, it would require you to have some more money. But there are different strategies you could use where you could have like a small amount as possible put down on a property, or or no money down at all. It would really depend on the kind of strategy you use. But yet again, I say, depending on your strategy would also be dependent on, how much money revenue you're able to generate from it and that kind of stuff. So you really have to, it's really about strategy oriented. But wholesaling, to answer your question, is one that really does not require you to have any kind of money to get started. You just have to be driven. That's it.
Yes, and if you don't have $10, you need to go check out episode 23, Young, Wild, and Financially Free, where Sierra gives you the game on your economic situation and being budget and finances. Like, if you don't got $10, to be honest, like, we need to talk about it. You need to DM me, and we need to pray for you. So the next thing, for real, man, because people make all kind of excuses. Oh, I ain't got $10. I don't got. Well, how you don't have $10? What's going on? So, yes.
I even better question with that is, your question to ask yourself is, even if you don't have $10, do you have good credit? Jay-Z had said in this song, he was like, man, how did Jews buy all the property in America? He said credit. That's something I already knew, but it really resonates. People, we listen to this music, some of this music, but we don't take the lessons. That was actually game he was giving you there. With my credit being good, I've been able to get over $70,000 of unsecured credit that I could take and use in any real estate project that I want to. Over $70,000, and that's just because I have credit. It doesn't matter how much money I had in the bank. It doesn't matter, what my income was or anything. My credit was solid, and I was able to get money to do projects. So there's game around this. This is stuff, there's ways. If your credit is crappy right now, it could turn around in 30 to 45 days. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of stuff that kind of stuff is easy to do. It's easy to do, but this is stuff that people don't teach us. This is stuff that took me 2.5 years to figure out and fix, but that's the thing. You could get started in real estate. It's really up to you. If you're making excuses, it's up to you. That's it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And thank you for talking about credit, because now I want to talk about like good debt versus bad debt, because when you're dealing with real estate, you're going to need some level of debt in order to, purchase your projects. So what's good debt versus bad debt?
Okay. So, all right. So let's say, for instance, you bought a property and you're paying on that property. Let's say you had a house and you're paying on that house every month. You're paying on something that's showing a track record of you having a decent payment history. You're paying on time, that kind of stuff. And that's actually working positively towards your credit. Bad debt or, bad credit or whatever would be more in terms of like you just spending money where you do not have a plan to pay back this debt on time. So like, you're raking up credit cards, bam, you're getting slammed with interest, and you don't really have a set plan to pay this off. Okay, with your rental property or with your home, that type of situation, you actually, that mortgage that you're paying every month, same thing like if you pay rent, that mortgage you pay every month, it's getting added to your FICO. It's getting added as like a history of your payments. So that reflects positively towards your credit history. Even paying off credit cards on time, really and truly, the truth is, if you could pay off a credit card entirely, forget what people say about this 30% stuff, because that's bogus. And I've already proven that's bogus. That's a lie. The best thing to do is to keep that credit card paid off. If you go ahead and you use it for your everyday transactions and activities, at the end of the month, pay it off. That's going to affect your credit better than you carrying over a 30% balance? Yeah, 30% balance on it. No. That's not going to help you. What's going to help you is showing that you used it, showing that there's consistent activity, yes, but pay it off at the end of the month. That is going to boost your credit. I'm telling you, because it's done wonders for my credit. So that's an example of using credit cards in a good way. And you could say that's good debt, but more stable more stable investments like your house and that kind of stuff, or your car, like you paying off your car and that kind of stuff, and it's showing that history. That's what I consider good debt. Bad debt is like irresponsible. You got to be responsible.
So you all, it's time for our review of the week. So let's just take a small break to listen to what someone had to say. Roy Moore III said, "This is a fresh, godly podcast. He loves it. This is such a great podcast. I had the chance of being one of the guests on the podcast, and the process from first being contacted to the actual interview was incredible. Jasmine is truly a professional and has great guests on her podcast. I can't wait to listen to the other episodes. Also, the way the podcast is put together is great. As a listener, I truly enjoy it. Keep being you and continue to bless the world with the great content that incorporates our King of Kings and Lord of Lords. God bless." Roy, thank you as always for just being you and for rating this podcast. So right now, I'm asking any of you, the listeners, just take a second. Give us 5 stars. Tell us how you really feel. Give me your feedback. Also, I want to now incorporate if you have questions. If you have questions for our potential guests, if you have questions for or for me that you want me to answer, go to @__ the pretty plug on Instagram and I will answer them. Just send me a DM, say, "Hey, I got a question from the podcast," and I will surely answer. It could be personal, it could be professional, it can be about business, it could be about podcasting. You can ask me anything. So again, go to @__ the pretty plug on Instagram. I'll be sure to answer your question on next week's podcast. All right, you guys, let's get back to this week's episode.
So, my next question is, when you are going through the process of, starting a project, how do you evaluate a home? And what's some of the best ways for funding your projects?
Okay, so it would really depend. So in terms of rentals, we could start there. This is the basic, because I think that's what everyone is trying to really get to. So in terms of rentals, what I typically look at is I look at 3 different things. I look at the 2% rule, and you guys can look at it. If we go into everything, it's going to take a very long time. Look at the 2% rule, look at the 50% rule, and look at the 4 quadrants, and Google that on Bigger Pockets. Okay, biggerpockets.com. So pretty much from a high level, the 50% rule says that 50% of all your expenditures will actually be covered through the rental income. Okay, so if it goes way higher than 50%, that's probably not a deal that you want to do in terms of just like a high level analysis. The 4 quadrants, it looks at the income, the expenditures, the profit, and the return on your investment. So that's all this is like. When I was talking earlier about running your numbers, these are things that you look at. You look at the 4 quadrants. So you look at like, okay, this property. What are the properties in the area renting for? A 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit. How much is rent for? Okay, $1,500. Is that like the average? Okay, cool. So I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit. Maybe it could rent for $1,500. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. Use the 50% rule. Okay, so 50% of the money that I make from this should go to my expenses, right? If less happens to go to your expenses, it makes the deal even better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the 4 quadrants, as I said, like, you want to know, like, when you purchase that property, how much you're going to put down. So, like, I say for every $20,000 that I spend, I ideally want to make $500 to $800 worth of cash flow. Now, that sounds pretty high for some people. It sounds astronomically crazy, but I'm telling you, because I've actually done these numbers. The fourplex I have is based on those numbers. So it's not impossible. It's just about you being able to go out there and find a deal that will yield you that. So anyway, for every $20,000 I spend, I like to make between $400 to $800. Okay, and now based on that, I go ahead and I said, okay, how long will it take me from making anywhere from 4 to 8 for me to get a return on my investment? So every month someone pays you a rental income. How much after I cover my expenses, after I cover my mortgage, after I cover all of those things, my capex, all that kind of stuff. As I said, like this terminology, go and look at the 4 quadrants on Bigger Pockets. You'll understand it. It'll make complete sense to you. So after I've accounted for all those expenditures, what is left? What is my cash flow? What is my profit? Okay, now based on this, how long would it take me to recoup that initial $20,000 that I invested to acquire the property in the first place? So I usually give myself anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Now, it's not like I'm waiting 3 to 5 years to recoup it. The money that I gain in my cash flow, I'm going to go ahead and invest in other properties. But it's just for me to have an idea of, listen, how long would it take me to get my investment up? If it's taking you 15 to 20 years to get back $20,000 investment in a property, then that's not a good deal. If it's taking you 10, 12 years, that's not a good deal. You want something anywhere from 3 to 5 years, or maybe even 6 years. I've seen one for 7 years. That's okay for you to recoup your entire $20,000 investment. Okay, but that's my rubric, what I use. I mean, you really have to find what works for you. At the same time, I'm an engineer too, so I know people come from like different walks of life and that kind of stuff. And depending on the properties you're looking at, the bare minimum you probably need is anywhere from 12 to 15,000 for you to really get started with a good rental property. Now you could finesse it other type of ways by, it has like different books you could read on like how you could finesse it different type of ways where you only have to put down like 3.5% using like a FHA 2 or 3K or B, but it really depends on what strategy you approach it at.
Okay. So a lot of times when you are getting these projects, one, you're acquiring the property, but then you're going to need somebody to actually buy this property, to rent this property. So I want to talk about the power of relationships and nurturing that with your clients and also your potential customers. How do you seal the deal, Issa? Tell us.
How do I seal the deal? So is it a rental question or is it a wholesale question?
You can do both. You can do both.
Okay, so in rentals, you own the property. So, pretty much how you seal the deal. Me personally, because my schedule is so cramped up and crazy, I identify realtors who can do it, who can do the job for me in terms of getting the property rented. Because you work 10 hours a day. How much time do you realistically have to go show a property? You have to be realistic with yourself with what you can do. So, really and truly, my relationship are with the people who actually aid in my business. So, like realtors, getting a realtor to help walk down a property, they get you in of course, they'll get you in a contract, and they'll take a commission to go ahead and get a tenant in there. So that's one way of doing it, and it's good to have good relationship with your realtors and that kind of stuff, because a realtor they're really their own boss. So depending on how much work they want to put in for you, it's really dependent on them. If they like you, they're going to work for you. I'm telling you, some properties that I've been able to look at, I probably didn't acquire them, but had the chance to look at people coming in after hours and walking properties down with me, knowing that, they got families to get to and stuff. They made the extra effort because of that relationship, because of that friendship, because of that trust that, you're able to build with them. And one thing I want to say is any person that you work with, whether it be contractors, whether it be realtors, electricians, whatever, even people who manage your property, if you're going that, the best thing for you to do is let them know that, hey, you're going to be an integral part of my business and my life. We're going to be working together. Come hell or high water, we're going to be in this together. If they understand that you're trying to build that relationship. They also understand that, hey, this is going to be a consistent source of income for me. Issa doing good in business or Clutch City doing good in business is going to be good in business for me. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, showing people that there's a mutual benefit to the two. So in terms of wholesaling, people that you actually go out and talk to, a lot of these people, they really don't want to sell their homes. They really don't want to sell their homes, especially selling it to someone who they don't really know, because you're calling people, you're talking to people. So these people don't know who you are. So you have to build that trust with them, letting them know that, yes, listen, this house has probably been in your family for this amount of time. You probably don't have to sell it to us. If there's a better option, we've actually fell on the sword a few times. We've seen opportunities where it was like, listen, we could probably get this property easily from this person, but there's another way. There is another way, and we go ahead and we show them the other way in which they could save their property. But listen to this, 9 times out of 10, they may not even be able to. But because you took that time to show them that it was another way, you built that trust and relationship. It's like, man, this person actually tried to help me save this property versus just trying to buy this from so it's now you build that kind of trust with them. It's like, man, if anybody, I will sell my house to Clutch City homebuyers because they actually care about us. And it's a people business. You have to understand, you're not buying homes, you're buying hearts. You're buying a place into someone's heart. You have to understand that it's not just about the money sometimes. So we've passed on certain deals because of exactly what I said. We showed people a better way. But if it still didn't work out, we acquired the property. And that's a good way of getting referrals as well. Someone's like, they helped us out this situation. Here, give Issa a call, or give my partner Garland a call. And they'll call us and be like, oh, my aunt sold this house to you. I'm going through the same situation. Can you help us find a solution? Or, can you help us sell this? Because now you've built trust. And that's what the thing about, you can't be, real estate is an aggressive game. And there's times you got to be a savage. But sometimes you have to understand, if you want to realistically make money consistently, you got to build those relationships.
Yeah. And we do have a relationship platforms like Airbnb. So that somebody can come and rent the property that you own. But my thing is, what are the pros and cons of Airbnb? One is, do you even use Airbnb when you're dealing with your rentals, or you're looking for more long-term rentals? Like, talk to us about like Airbnb and that platform as a whole.
I love technology. And I love the fact that Airbnb exists because it provides people with an alternative option, versus staying at a hotel for $70 a night, or $80 a night, or $100 a night. You could stay at a house with all these amenities. You got towels, you got bath soap, you got internet, you got TV, all that's covered, right? And it's great. It's great for the consumer. But on the ownership side, who is going to put down those bath towels? Who's putting down the bath soap? Who is paying for the internet? Who is paying for the electricity? Let me share something with you. When I do a rental, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the property having the bare minimum essentials, which means washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, and the property is clean, ready to go. The person that comes in, they're going to handle their electricity, internet, bath towels, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to have that tenant for a longer period of time. Now, I'm not against Airbnb, but because my business is set up to where my time is important to me and I don't have the time to run down there all the time, it's a little bit more difficult for me to run a revolving door. What Airbnb is. So, when you get into real estate, you really have to decide, do you want to be the one who is going down there when a tenant leaves and is doing the cleanup? Who is washing the towels? What about periods of times when you're down, when you don't have people coming into your Airbnb? That electricity still needs to be paid, man. That internet still needs to be up and running. Certain things needs to be done. And one of the biggest things I found with Airbnb, I know some people are already thinking this, oh man, you could get a cleaning company. Oh, you could do this. I was like, well, there's one flaw that I found with this. A lot of these cleaning companies, they charge a ridiculous amount for you to come in and clean. And I've looked at a whole bunch of them. But here's a business idea. If someone could figure out how to go ahead and just target Airbnbs in terms of like cleaning service, that's a business right there. And give people like better rates on it, because that is what's really going to affect Airbnb cash flow in terms of how much money you could make, because you have to keep it up to like a hotel status, or else you won't get good reviews. And if you don't get good reviews, you're not going to get that place rented out. So it's an active business. It's not a business where you kick back, relax, and you get $400 to $800 every month. You know, it's not that type of business. It's a business where you're actively involved. You're going to make more money. You're going to make more money if you can keep yourself at 100% or 90% capacity. You're going to make more money, but it is a lot more effort. And now you need to ask yourself, hey, I'm just starting in real estate. I'm just trying to understand how to even acquire these properties. Do I really want to throw all that responsibility on myself right now? If you are, hey man, more power to you. But from me and me understanding this business, I want to be able to make that slow, lazy money at first, because a lot of hard work goes behind that. But once I set it up, it's going to earn for me versus me beating that horse. I mean, it's okay to beat the horse if you have the time, but if you know you don't have the time, be realistic with yourself. If you know you don't have the time, you know, there are other ways to make good money, great money in real estate. But I mean, that's the way I feel. I'm biased. Some people will disagree, but you know, that's how I feel. I rather clear a steady, consistent balance every month that I could build on as I acquire more properties, and then later, when I'm making money and I want to switch, I already own the properties. I could switch to Airbnb anytime I want. It's not going to take me any kind of time, but on the way there, I already made a good, decent income every time on my way to getting there. So, I mean, it's really up to the person.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I know with home buying and properties and wholesaling, it's not always, you know, butterflies and rainbows. I know it's some adversity that you've had to face. So just tell the listeners what that adversity is, and you know how you're continuing to break down those boundaries.
It's really funny because we could really talk about. This could have been the whole conversation right here. Adversities. We talk about adversities. You can have a separate podcast and just have a roundtable discussion about it. So in terms of adversities, as I said, one of the three things I mentioned earlier: information. You have to understand what you're getting into before you get into it. And even when you understand what you're getting into, you're always going to miss something. I can promise. I will promise you this. You think you'll know everything, but you won't. But life has something called a school of hard knocks. It's going to teach you. And once you learn about it, you'll be fine. So in terms of adversities, the property that I identified this year was a fourplex, and nobody was really touching it, but I got on it pretty quickly. Other people came with cash offers and stuff, but it was way too much for them to pay to do the repairs, because it's two duplexes. One of the duplex was completed, the other one wasn't. The one that was not completed, it required some work. The work estimated over $60,000 to $70,000. That's outside of the down payment that would have to go into the property. It was about $20,000. So we're already looking at $90,000 total just to acquire this property. The strategy I came up with required that I only put down $40,000 to get the job done. Only $40,000 is required. Okay, so now we're thinking about it like, how did I pull that off? There's something called a FHA 203K type loan. The FHA 203K type loan allows you to like go ahead and purchase a property and conduct over $30,000 with repairs. It sounds good, right? Sounds good. You know, you're getting $30,000 more to conduct repairs. Sounds like a good deal. The only issue is it's a government type loan, and it becomes very cumbersome. Now you're including HUD inspectors into your home. You're already dealing with the city inspectors. Now you have HUD inspectors. You have to identify and vet proper contractors to come do this job, and they have to correspond with the lender and all that kind of stuff. Along the way, I have had issues where contractors have been corresponding, and then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I want to terminate this agreement. When you're dealing with any government type loan or situation, anybody terminate, it starts the process all over. It took me 7.5 months to close on this property that I acquired this year. 7.5 months to close on this property. And this is me running and gunning at it every day. I promise you. So that's just like, with contractors bailing on you, HUD inspectors who are too busy to do their job. So people, it comes down to the people who you work with. So if a guy is way too busy and you're trying to get him on your site to do an inspection and he can't be there, he sets off the deadline. Now it falls upon the lender complaining and saying, hey, we're not following things on task. And it pushes stuff back. Then when I finally acquired the property, and you can't control this, I've dealt with 2 felons. I had 2 felons. That was one of my tenants. Two felons were tenants in one of the units. And these guys were smoking weed in the unit. So I had to evict them. So when I evicted them, they took an additional, I gave them 30 days to leave. They took an additional 2 weeks before they left. When they finally left, they incurred over, how much? $2,000 worth of damage to the property. Because as I said, numbers, you go back to your numbers. Do you have money in your budget, in your numbers, to cover damages, pre-existing damages by tenants? So, yeah, I finally got them out of there. I finally got one of the unit completely fixed up. And then all of a sudden, I got hit. Someone came and robbed my property for over $27,000 worth of damage, $27,000 to $30,000 worth of damages. They stole copper wiring from my units. So it's like, okay. Now you got to look at it as like, did you anticipate for security? Do you have insurance? Yes, I had insurance, thankfully. But it's like, did you do your due diligence to secure your investment? Did you? And it's like, you have to like look at all of these things, and you got to ask yourself the question: do you still want to continue going on with this? Like, what is real estate to you? Is it your dream, or is it just something that you decided could make you a few bucks? That's when you start to ask yourself the question: is this something that you see yourself retiring, being able to give back to your church, your family? When you see these situations happening, so you have to ask yourself the question, and it needs to resonate within yourself: what do you want to do with real estate? What does it mean to you? I had to ask myself that question, but I kept on moving because real estate is going to be my saving grace and salvation outside of Jesus Christ. So I kept on going. I got robbed, kept on going. I built a fence. I did security, and some of this stuff you may not be able to hire a company all the time. You're going to have to figure it out yourself. So right now, I think I'm an IT specialist when it comes to home security. I built my own system. I did it so I could do it on my phone. I could view my property. I set up alarms. I built a fence. I'm getting the repairs conducted and done, and I'm coordinating with my realtor to go ahead and get that property rented out. But you just got to ask yourself that question, man. Do you want to deal with contractors? Do you want to deal with lenders? Do you want to deal with the government with loans? Do you want to deal with HUD inspectors? Do you want to deal with possibly getting break-in? Do you want to deal with tenants that are bad? Sometimes it's outside of your control, because when you inherit a property that's outside your control, only thing you could do is terminate them. Do you want to deal with that responsibility, that kind of stuff? Okay, if you're up for it, go do it. But if you're not up for it, don't go ahead and waste your money on something that you're not fully dedicated and passionate about, because it's going to hurt you. At the end of the day, I lay at night and I think about my future. I think this is the thing that's going to really shape my life. It's going to change the lives of people around me. So I keep going. But you really got to ask yourself that question. That's pretty much what it is. I've literally encountered almost every single situation in terms of uh, just dealing with property investing and stuff just this year. Just this year at all. If I called them out, just from paperwork to break-ins to physical damage to bad tenants to everything. And some of it was just out of my control. It's gonna be like that. You just really have to decide in yourself, how am I gonna deal with the situation, find the best solution, keep it moving. This is your dream, keep it moving. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, think about it. Anytime you step out of doing things that are comfortable and normal, you're going to incur adversity. So for the listeners, even though you heard him speak about all these adversities that he occurs, he now has knowledge. He now knows what to tell you so that you don't make those same mistakes. And now you know what to do. Have your proper wiring, have a fence, make sure that you have a security system, make sure that you understand and have a realtor. Like, even though that there was adversity, there are also solutions. It's not end all be all. So you shouldn't get afraid or frightened or scared. Oh, I shouldn't do this anymore. No, if you're super passionate, you should still go into it. You just have to understand that you're going to take a level of risk with anything that you do that's outside of norm, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I invest in the hood, so I invest in some hood properties. So it's like my situation may be different from you. You may not have to do all the things that I did. So results may vary. You just have to know the area you're investing in.
I like that. Results may vary. So one thing I love watching, like Fixer Upper or Flip or Flop the Home, like all of these home reality TV shows, I just love them. One, because I like the aesthetics, interior design. Me, I want whatever's on Pinterest to just appear in my room. I don't really want to go out and buy it. I just want it to like just be whatever I see on the picture. So whenever there's an app for that, let me know. But I want to understand, like, you'll have Sally and Tom, they're working at a coffee shop, and then they'll say, oh, well, you know, my budget is 1.3 million, or my budget is 600K. Like, where are they getting these numbers from? Because I'm like, people got whole real jobs. Not saying their jobs aren't real, don't know how they got on the show, but they be talking about like normal people jobs having these $1 trillion budgets. And all of my friends, they always laugh about that, but I'm like, where are they getting these numbers from? And so, Issa, do you have some insight?
I do have some insight on that, and I can't believe you actually asked that question. That's what I always say. These questions, guys. But that particular situation, a lot of the numbers are unreal. For one, I watch Property Brothers a little bit. In the earlies, I'm not sure if they changed it now, but I stopped watching. In the earlies, they didn't even used to account for closing costs in the amount that it takes to flip a property. So when you flip a property, you buy a property, you fix it up, and you sell it to someone. Someone else buys it from you. There are closing costs associated. So it's not just the cost of to fix a property and that kind of stuff, but there's also the cost to pay the closing cost is how much the realtors get paid to buy on the buying side and the selling side. So it's like, the numbers accounted for in some of these shows that you watch, they're pretty unrealistic. And that's why a lot of people get into real estate. Oh man, it's great. And because they're watching these shows on HGTV. Mind you, these shows are funded by a network that has a lot of money. They could do whatever they want. You, on the other hand, you're a person, you may be an engineer. No, hold up. You may be working for the government. You have a fixed salary, a fixed income. You're trying to know how you can get into real estate and really make some money for yourself. So, I mean, really and truly, those numbers, I wouldn't really take those seriously, but it also stresses my point. One, get to know your numbers. Understand the deal that you're dealing with. You see, we keep going back, like all your questions lead back to the beginning. Understand your numbers. Like those numbers, you have to know their balderdash. You can't go after you can't do a deal when you're not accounting for closing costs. They're not accounting for standing costs. So like you have, what is the cost to pay back? Let's say you took out a loan to do this job. What is the interest you're paying back on a hard money loan each month? How much is that? Are they accounting for that in their costs? Like, are they accounting for that before you like? Is there too much holes in that? So in terms of getting ideas on how to design, yes, you go ahead and watch those shows, enjoy those shows. They're great. A lot of these people are great at that. But understanding your numbers you need to understand your numbers. You really need to take that upon yourself to break that down.
Okay. So thank you for, letting us know that. Now, this is one of my last questions before I go into the questions from the audience. And this is something that I did new, you guys. I asked on Instagram. I was like, I have a real estate investor and just somebody that's in the industry. Send me your questions. So in the future, any episode I do, I'll tell you guys the industry and I'll ask you to send questions. And then that way we have a more conversation that you all have also curated with me. So my next question is, I was looking and I was doing some research. The Redfin survey said 45% of minority buyers asserted that sellers and their real estate agents may have been less eager to do business with them because of their race. So how important is it for our people to be able to do business with us? Because I don't want to do business, or I don't want to give not one person my dollar that is not eager, is not ecstatic, does not have great energy, does not want to work with me. Because what's the point? If 45% of the market doesn't and is not eager, just because of my race, I don't want to do business with you. Buy black, hood economics, partner with Issa. Like, that's the strategy we should be going towards. But my thing, have you incurred any racial inequalities, or do you see that same percentage as you're doing business?
Oh man, I love, this is my favorite. This is actually my favorite question. This is my favorite. I'm so glad you gave this one. So check this. When I initially started in wholesaling, before I went ahead and I acquired the information on my own, it had a guy who I knew. He's one of the biggest realtors in town, and I'd met him through an acquaintance of mine. And he is really helpful, and that kind of. He's like, "Hey, I know this guy who could help you out." And this guy, the guy who said that, he works for Keller Williams. I'm not sure if you guys know. That's like a huge, they have a whole bunch of realtors, and they sell houses all the time. So he worked with Keller, and he was like, "Hey, I got a guy who could talk to you." He was like, "Okay." I hit this guy up every day for 45 days. Just, "Hey, my name is Issa Joseph. I'm trying to get to know, just introducing myself, trying to talk to him." Finally, it was around the time of Harvey. I finally was like, I finally changed my strategy because he wasn't even responding in my text messages when I hit him up. Then he was like, I was like, "Thank you for acknowledging me." So I was being sarcastic. I texted him, "Thank you for acknowledging me." He was like, and then he responded. He was like, "Oh, I have 5 minutes to talk." I was like, "Hey, I'm getting into this. I've been doing this." He's like, "Yeah, all right. We have a course that's like $1,000, and if you're serious, you buy the course today or whatever." I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to, I have no problem with buying the course, but the whole time I'm talking to you, the first thing that came out of your mind, out of your mind, from your heart, out of your mouth, just tell me was, come buy this course, instead of you even trying to get to know who I am or trying to help me out, give me some game on this." That's what I encountered, like right off the bat. Sometimes you encounter lenders, you may talk to them and they don't even think you have the money to purchase it. So purchase a home. I've encountered that. I've encountered going to RIA meetings and trying to talk to people who have been investing for 30 years and they don't want to give you the game. Because they don't want to get, and this is, I think in general, people just don't want to give you the game. If more people have the game, more people are going to win. So my thing about it is, I'll give everybody the game. Reason being, and I say it's selfish. It's selfish of me. It's selfish of me to give everybody the game. Why? Because I know at the end of the day, the more people the game, the more people that I give the game to, the more investors and partners I will have later on. Because if I give someone the game and I show you how to do real estate, I show you how to improve your credit, I show you how to, make some money, you start making money. You're going to be like, I wonder what else Issa is working on. I wonder what else Clutch City or Level Up Development is working on that I could get in a piece of this pie. And we all start to win. So me helping people, I think it's selfish. I want to help as many people as I can. Because it's going to help me later on. That's how I think about it. It's like, if I help you, it's going to help me. So yeah, I'm going to help you. I'm not going to hoard knowledge, because at the end of the day, the less people that know about this, the less people that can benefit about it, especially our people, because they won't give us the game. We have to We have to acquire it and give it to each other. That's the only thing we can do. Once we
Yes.
have it, yeah. Once we have it, man, ain't nothing we can't do. And that's what happened. You know, the game was passed to me by someone who was just like me, and I started passing the game to other people who look just like me. I'll pass it to anybody, to be honest, whoever wants the information. But I mean, more of us working together, we could work on bigger projects. I'm talking 300, 400 unit apartment complexes. We can do that. That's actually not that hard. You know, we townhomes, you know, like 20 townhomes in one area, buy a whole acreage of land and build that. We can do that. That's actually not that hard. Like when you're in it and you realize what it takes, you realize that with with the amount of engineers that we know, Jasmine, with the amount of people that we know that who are already like making good money or saving and don't know what to do with it, it's easy.
It
We can
is.
do.
It's called group economics. Look it up for the people in the back. So I got some. Listen, because we can get a game all day, Issa, and I know you can get a game all day. But we are like at our 60-minute mark, and I want people to like still be engaged. So I did ask the audience for some questions. One, they want to know what's the best age to get into real estate, and is college too early to start?
No, college is not too early to start. You can start at pretty much any age. To be honest with you, one thing I do see is like sometimes when dealing with tenants and contractors and that kind of stuff, the younger you are, you just have to assert yourself. Because I started when I was 26. I'm 27 now. I've only been doing it for certain things for a year. My knowledge base and acquiring my knowledge, it took me about since 2013. I've been collecting knowledge and stuff in college. I should have started, but I didn't have the knowledge on how to start. And it took me a longer time. But if you find someone who could give you the knowledge, I could give you the knowledge. If you find someone you know and trust, they give you the knowledge at any age. You could start on any form of real estate you want. You could get started. It really doesn't matter. You just have to assert yourself and know within yourself that you know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, and you're doing it. That's the only thing you need to do. Assert yourself. That's it.
Yes, I agree.
Age doesn't matter.
I agree.
Age doesn't matter. And money is the same color. Age doesn't matter. At the end of the day, age doesn't matter, and money is the same color. You bring the money to the table, or you figure out how to get the money together to bring it to the table. Ain't nobody gonna turn you down. At the end of the day, everybody wants to get paid.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Show up.
Yes.
Just show up.
Show up. Money is all the same color, and you can get money at any age. Some of the best advice, Issa, that you're giving to people. My next question is: with the current economy, we know it's going strong right now, but we all know that things can slow down, or we can hit another recession. How do we protect ourselves against that volatility? And also, like, even if the market were to crash, is that the best time to go into, buying homes and Texas, California, New York? How is the market's really doing?
I mean, me personally, this is a piece of advice for you. Your mom had said invest in Texas. Yeah, I would say invest in Texas. Real estate in New York is tricky. California is tricky. It can be done. It can be done, but it is tricky. If you already live in Texas, man, it's easy. It's easy right now. It was even easier back. It's just competition. That's it. And if you're up for the competition, it's fine. How do you protect yourself? In terms of when you buy certain properties, I know certain people, they buy a house and they put themselves on a 30-year, they put themselves on a 10 or 15-year mortgage. Oh yeah, I'll pay off this house in 15 years. In real estate, let me carry you back to 2018. No, not 2018, to 2008. 2008, when we had that housing crisis, a lot of people lost the values of their home. So let's say their home was worth $300,000, and now it's worth $150,000. If you were trying to pay that off, you had a high-paying job. You're trying to pay that off in 15 years. You probably lost money on your home. Me personally, I don't care about the debt that is incurred that is being paid off every month. Okay, through my tenants or whatever. By me acquiring the home, I don't care about that. So I extend my mortgages out 30 years. I do a 30-year mortgage. Reason being is because if anything happens and the home depreciates in value, most likely the money that I would have paid in on a monthly would not have even reached the total amount of that actual initial value of that home. So I really didn't really lose much, if that makes sense. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so in terms of that, and you just want to get solid, good deals,
And
because I don't care what it is. People are going to rent. I'm like, people are going to rent no matter what. There are people you will try to convince them all day, buy a house, buy a duplex, buy something that can help you. No, man, I just want the flexibility of an apartment so I can move around. So people are going to rent no matter what. The only thing is you need to find a deal that, hey, if you happen to come under economic crisis, could you lower the price of your rent? Is there going to be enough margin for you to at least break even? All this comes in your initial numbers. Yet again, the numbers. So you really have to understand your deal before you get it. This is a deal you're not going to hold on for like a year. You might hold on to this deal for 15 years, 20 years before you sell it. So you need to understand your numbers and you need to account for this type of stuff. But in terms of trying to pay off these real estate, like if you have rentals, you're trying to pay off these deals quickly. No, don't. It doesn't make sense, because now it not only puts you in a situation where if an economic crisis happens, you could lose money on the value of your house or money that you already put in. It also puts you in a situation where you allot yourself less cash flow every month to actually acquire more real estate. If you're paying more in a mortgage, you're getting less cash flow. Less cash flow means less money you could stack to buy another property, which will give you more cash flow. The game is a cash flow game. It's not about oh, how quick I could pay off this house. No. It's a cash flow game. How much money I can stack every month. How big can this stack be? Can I have stacks on stacks and racks on racks? Or do I want to just have a few $100s at the end of the month and 4 properties and oh yeah, I'm a landlord. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, you giving us the game, Issa. And I remember you telling me a little bit earlier is that the competitors in Texas are going to be other Texans. It's going to be Californians or just people that aren't from Texas.
Yeah.
So, like, can you speak a little bit on that?
Well, if you ever go to a RIA meeting in Houston, or for anybody who's listening who's been to like RIA meetings in Houston, you would notice they talk about it. Austin is like little California right now, because a lot of these guys in California, like for instance, I bought a property for $300,000, and it was a 4-plex. My buddy bought one in California for $300,000. It was a duplex. Our mortgages at the end of the month, the cost for our mortgages are the exact same. The only difference is I make hundreds of dollars more than he does. So now let's say for instance, someone worked at a company all their life, okay, and you come across this, they have a 4-bedroom house in California. The house is going for $750,000. They've had that house for over 25 years on a 30-year mortgage. That house is mostly paid off, okay? So they have all of that money backed up in the value of their house. So it's older people, with all that money backed up in the value of their house. What do? Sell that joint. They sell that joint. They take that money now. They come to Austin and they come to Houston. They buy themselves a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath house for $150,000, and that could be paid off if they wanted to. They could pay it off, and then they have all this extra money. What do you think they're going to do with it? They're buying real estate. I mean, look at what's going on in Austin right now. They put up an In-N-Out burger. That's a California. The companies are paying attention to their consumers. So the company moved out from California, came directly to Austin. There isn't even one in Houston yet, from what I understand. Why did they pick Austin? That's where people are going. So people who are struggling or getting by in California, they're selling their homes that have a lot of value in them, coming to Texas, and they're buying real estate. They're getting into rental properties. They're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month rental income. That's possible. That's actually not hard to do. It takes time, but it's not hard. They're doing that kind of stuff, and they have their own house comfortably So, I mean, it's really is you just identifying, what you want to do and just doing it. Because there's money to be made, man. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. And my last question is, what books or podcasts should we be plugged into as beginners?
Okay, so there are a few. Let me go into my phone here. 'Cause I've kind of figured you that. So, one, I listened to someone named Grant Cardone. Now, his way of real estate investing is a little different. I don't fully agree with it, but he's also a motivational speaker. He has a book called The 10X Rule. I like that. So that's one of my favorite books. It keeps me driven. Now, Bigger Pockets has a lot of books. You have the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner on Bigger Pockets. You should get that book. That's great. The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. That's a guy who partially owns Keller Williams, and we talked about them in this conversation as well. The book on investing in real estate with no and low money down by Brandon Turner. So I mean that's another one right there. What else we got? Oh yeah, there's a book on flipping. Hold on. There's a book on flipping that I had read. I read it like a year ago. Oh man, I can't remember it right now. But it's oh yeah, the book on flipping houses by the book on flipping houses: How to Buy, Rent, and Resell Residential Properties by Jay Scott. So you want to get those books. Those books are pretty good. Like those books are some of the books that I've read. I've read a bunch of other books. I have courses and stuff that I took, but those books should give you an idea on like how to get started. When you get up in a whole bunch of properties, how you could sell them all, get bigger properties without paying taxes. Like it tells you strategies, game that we don't that people don't tell us. Game that I begged people for, and they didn't want to open their mouth and say it, knowing that they knew it.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that I gave you. If you read those books, I promise you, you would have a lot of the knowledge that I currently hold. You would have it. And if you've already read some of these books, come give me a call. We'll work together on some stuff. Let's see how we can help you, get started in real estate.
Yeah.
And I don't charge people, by the way. I don't charge. I rather build a relationship. We be friends. We're good. We build that relationship. You start doing good in real estate, and when some big projects come around, we talk. See if you want to get into it. If not, fine. But if you want to make some money, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like it's all about working together. That's it. So I'm not gonna charge you like these real estate courses. I'm not gonna say, "Oh man, $200. Let's sit down here and I'll give you a handout and stuff that you're probably not gonna remember." No, we're gonna sit down and have a real conversation. That's it.
Yes. And so, Issa, now that you've made your call to action, you want anybody to hit you up, free game, free information, free relationship. You just want to connect with people to give them that juice. And like you said earlier, it's selfish of you. It's selfish of you to just give this game out for free. Because one, somebody's going to want to connect with you and build that relationship even further. But my final question, and the question that I love to ask every episode, what this episode is founded upon. One, what does walking by faith mean to you?
Man, walking by faith is believing. It's believing. The Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So I don't see currently right now, I may not see myself but currently right now in real life, I may not be making $1 million a month or 6 figures a month in real estate. But I believe in the future, and I know within my heart that I continue along my path, I will get there. I have faith to believe in things that I have not seen yet. But but in addition to my faith, I also incorporate action. I put in that work, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm moving towards it. Ain't nothing can stop you. The only thing people can do is get on board or get out of the way. So that's it.
Yeah, yes, Issa. So I always end with a Bible scripture, and I have this Bible scripture I have two. It's one for the males and one for the ladies. So Genesis 2:15, it says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and to keep it. And he's talking about just in the beginning of times where one, God said, hey, man needs to work. Adam, you have land. Put it to work. Make this work for you. So in the beginning of time, God was already sharing with us, one, that we should not only use this land, because you said that anything that has land has money on it, that we should definitely go after it. We shouldn't be standing still. We shouldn't be saying, oh, no, I should just rent forever. No, make some money on it. If it touches this land, it's meant to make money on it. Don't make money your God. However, use your resources so that you can be financially successful, because it's not enough to just be good. You want to be well off. You want to have generational wealth. You want to be able to pass something down to your family. And one of those things is real estate. It is property. It is knowledge. It is just wealth building. So one, Adam, he was our first instruction and our first leader in having land and taking care of it. And then Proverbs 31:16, it says, she considers a field and buys it. From her earnings, she plants a vineyard. So it's not enough to just say, oh, Adam was the only person that was supposed to do this. Also, God instructed the woman. He said, guess what? If you are with a man, help him in this, help him with the vineyard. Or if you're by yourself and you're still an ambitious woman, which we are in 2018, you go out there and do it too. You secure the bag, you secure real estate, because properties and land has no gender restrictions. You should be able to go and do it just like anyone else. So, Issa, did you have a good time on the Walk by Faith show?
I had a great time.
Yeah.
There were a lot of great questions. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on, Jasmine. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, Issa, I just want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge, sharing you had consistent nuggets. The episode is over 60 minutes and it's not just full of fluff. I feel like every question you gave some juice, and I'm so thankful for that. And right now, Issa, where can the people find you on social media and how can they contact you?
You could contact me at my email, Clutch City, Clutch, like Houston Rockets, Clutch City HB @gmail.com. You could add me on Facebook, Issa Joseph, or you could, I do have a Instagram, but in terms of my social media, I'm so busy, man. In terms of that, with real estate, it's not really at this point right now. It's not really a social media business for me. It's more of a hands-on, let me get this work done type business. But I do have a Instagram, Clutch City Homes. You can follow us on Clutch City Homes at Instagram. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and so basically, Issa tell you, I'm moving silent. I'm getting the bag. I don't even got to post it on social media. Don't even know what my handle is. Okay? So so just so everyone's clear, please email him for this free information, a 45-minute session where he just wants to talk to you and give you information. Clutch, CLUTCH, City, HB @gmail.com. So on that note, Issa, thank you. And this has been an episode on Clutch City Home Economics. So we'll see you next week on the Walk by Faith show.
If you want more content like this, make sure you give the Walk by Faith podcast a 5-star rating and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can follow me on Instagram at __ the pretty plug, and follow all updates on the podcast at WBF Podcasts. To those already supporting the show with a monthly subscription, thank you. If you're not already a supporter and you'd like to help make this show possible, tap the link in this episode's description or visit anchor.fm/jasmine-a-stith to become a monthly supporter. That's all, folks. Tune in next week for another episode on the Walk by Faith show.